Okay, so before we get down in the nitty-gritty details of a value chain optimization or VCO, let me run you a scenario, and this is a real scenario of how it can assist your business when it's been implemented properly. So we have a ship stuck in the Suez Canal, which we actually had. And in the question that Selfie, the strategic planner, asked is, they're going to run out of inventory space. And there's not an infinite amount of infinite space. Then Neil, and the maintenance manager, wants to know, since they're going to be stopping, would it not be possible to bring the annual maintenance forward in time? So in order to save that stop again, since they anyways are going to be stopping. Andre from production accounting, he wants to know if they could look at a process issue that they've identified in some of the recovery pans, chemical recovery locations that they've got. And Rachel, she's a data scientist. They've picked something funny up with one of the reactor models, and then also wants to look at that while the plant is standing now, in any case. So then be sure the group exec has got to make the decision now if they want to continue with this or not. And the question that he's normally asked is, on a high level, is, do we put production people on extended leave? Do we bring the leave forward? Do we move our annual refurbishment to this stoppage that we've had, this occurrence? And that's typical questions that they deal with in order to make that decision. Then Selfie can run this model scenario through the planning tool, and it will actually tell them that, you know what, we can actually do all these things. It should put you in a good position in the next 6 months. And typically what it is, if you implement the value VCO principles properly, this is the type of decision that you should be able to make within a day. And that is the real moment for this VCO. In the next chapters, we're going to dive in a bit more detail on what affects each and every role here. So please keep on watching. How would you benefit from it? So in order to simplify that, I've split it up into various roles for easier explanation. So let's meet Joy. She works in the quality and legal department for a fast-moving consumer goods company, and she's not sleeping well at the moment because there's a big audit coming up from one of her customers. Typical things that she struggles with is, who changed what value? When was it changed? Can they trace a specific product back to its source batch? How many products will be affected? Did the people follow the correct SOPs when they manufactured the specific product or batch? And those are the typical scenarios that Joy struggles with in a day-to-day job. Let's see how we can help her. Let's help Joy sleep a bit better. So what I'm going to show you is a couple of possible solutions that we have to address the concerns that Joy has raised. I'm going to go through them, not in detail. There is X-Celerate webinar series, goes detail into those, some of them that my colleagues have done. I'm just going to give you the big overview so that you know what to look for if you're interested in more detail. We're going to look at work task firstly, and that is, I'm going to summarize it, digitizing SOPs, normally paper trails where a form is ticked by hand, things to be imported or scanned or data captured and so on. And the work tasks enable us to set up those steps in the SOP and capture who did it, when was it done, and the associated variables and data together with that. So that solves that whole traceability and authorization issue that Joy's got. Then we're going to give Joy MES operations that enables material tracking. And this is how we manufacture a specific ERP item of your BOM list and so on. When was it manufactured? What batch did it come from? What raw materials was used? So this solves the traceability issue that she's got. Next up, we're going to look at Recipe Manager. And this answers the question for her of who downloaded the recipe, when was it downloaded, who changed it, and who authorized it. And this is what we call a Recipe Manager. Because we're using MES, we can also enable quality. And here we have statistical analysis on sampling that gets done. You can force that sampling, automatic sampling or manual sampling. And you have that all sitting with that product that you've manufactured as part of the legal compliance documents. Let's look at the next section. Next up, we meet Andre. He's a production accountant and been seconded to a task team to investigate issues that they've identified. Those include why there is losses that's unaccounted for. Why is the actual production numbers not matching what they're seeing at the end of the factory? They do not have component balancing, so they need to investigate how do they do that. And that means that not just mass balance, but also material balance, which include air, gas, liquids, and so on. So they want to enable that type of balancing. Lastly, they also need to investigate if it's worthwhile adding another measuring point between sections and handover points, if that increases the accuracy of the design in the model. Let's see how we can help Andre. So what we're going to do for Andre is we're going to introduce Andre to production accounting. And production accounting is a solution where we actually model the entire flow of the plant in. As you can see, it's flow sheet based. And this helps them identify gross errors and detect those automatically. It also got a solver to actually build various component models for you. So you can build gas models, CO2 gas, H2O, and so on. It all depends on what you want to use. The big difference here is this is not mass balance. This is material balance. Material balance means we're looking at gases, we're looking at liquids, not just tons and mass. Secondly, we're going to give Andre process simulation. And what they can do here is they can load in the initial design documents that they have for the facility to see how it behaves and how it runs 5 or 6 years after they've already put it in, and run various situations and change settings to see what the impact of it would be on their recoveries. Then if they have the oil and gas, we will enable reactor models. And this is a solution that's built specifically for the gas and oil industry with the modeling and the various losses and rates and all the formulas that goes into that. So that is how we will assist Andre. Next up, we have Rachel. She's a data scientist. And as always, with all data scientists, they can never get enough data. You can never feed them enough. Other issues that she sit with is that clients have requested their business to share some data securely to them. She also wants to make use of off-the-shelf predictive analytics tools because she doesn't really have the time to go and build her own tools at this stage. Then lastly, she also wants to look at mean time before failure and mean time to repair issues. The production is currently not capturing that, so she has difficulty in doing that. Let's see how we can help Rachel. So what we're going to do for Rachel is we're going to introduce Rachel to AVEVA Connect. This is a private OT cloud service that has got built-in machine learning tools and dashboarding and alarm and alerts automatically. What we can see from a screenshot here is you can build your own inputs and outputs and configure that in your industrial data or your data streams that you've got. Then we're going to also enable Insight for her. And Insight allows her to build those graphics herself very quickly. It automatically has gross errors and detections on, so you do not even have to go and build those. Great for self-service and already a whole host of features out the box on your existing data streams. Then lastly, we're going to look at production management. And this we're actually pulling from the plant side info. And this gives a whole host of downtime and production information on the production facility that they have. There's enough data there to satisfy Rachel and hopefully keep her quiet for a while until she wants more data. Okay, so next up we have Sitembiso. He's the group exec responsible for country production. What problems Sitembiso's got is that most of his data is normally a bit behind. It's not even near real time. There's a lot of KPIs floating around. He doesn't have the IT skills to go and build dashboards and things. The reports that he normally gets from the people are out of date or the data is incorrect. And he just wants the correct information to deploy his task team that goes and mitigate and fixes facilities that's running below acceptable production levels. Let's see how we can help Sitembiso. So for the group exec, we're going to introduce him to AVEVA Connect. And as previously said, this brings all the data streams from your various process plants or facilities or mines together into a single industrial cloud platform. What this allows them to do is for So it can be sure to create his own KPIs, compare sites to another, self-service graphics. So he doesn't need to be an IC specialist. And it's very straightforward for him in order to build those graphics and see where to deploy his task team to mitigate or solve problems at specific sites. Let's look at Selfie. She's a strategic planner for a business. Challenges she faces is keeping supply and demand balanced, and that is reacting to changes in market volatility, supply chain disruptions, maintaining the balance of inventory so you don't stock enough or not have enough to supply the market, and then waiting long for information to flow into the planning system so she can redo a plan. Let's see how we can assist Selfie in mitigating these issues. For Selfie, we're going to assist with the unified supply chain. From the screenshot here it's a graphical model that you actually model all your material inventory points and handling points as material is routed from raw to ship, berthing, or in store. So what we can do with this is you can optimize the model for product quality or for maximum production or for quickest time to market. And you can model this all in this graphical user interface and run optimizations on it. With the forecasting model as well, we can actually see what impact it has when ships don't arrive on time, or when you cannot load those ships on time and pay huge penalties in ship berthing and so on. So this model here will tell us which ship is planned to be loaded when, or when is the train supposed to be loaded or shipped with rail or with truck. It really doesn't matter. That's what the forecasting model does. So we can see in 6 or 8 months' time what impact today's unknowns have on our production schedules and market supply. And lastly, we've got Nilan. He works for production, one of the managers there. And let's see the problems that he faces. So one of the biggest frustrations Nilan's got is that the business planning office or sales office is constantly changing the products that they're running. And they have a big issue responding to that changes quickly in their process. Then they also want to introduce new products and run those and just expect the manufacturing facility to cope with these rapid changes in product development. Other options that he's worried about is the excessive downtime that he's having. And he wants to look at OEE to see how we can identify those areas and improve it. Further on, production numbers is always a challenge for him. And then one of the biggest issues is he wants to move from calendar-based maintenance to frequency-based, because they do have a lot of standing time, and to service the same pump every 3 months just doesn't make financial sense. Let's see how we can assist Nilan to get to grips with all these issues that's worrying him. So for Nilan, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce him to MES. We've already touched on it with some of the other roles that we've looked at. But the reason why we're looking at this one here is because it's got a dynamic routing that you can change for your products. So this will assist Nilan to quickly respond to the changing and chopping of the production orders that the salespeople want to get out the floor quickly. Then we're going to look at production management. And this is for continuous processing mostly, but it gives you all the dashboards and KPI tools to identify those leaks that you have in your runtime and manufacturing or on the production sites. Typically what we use production downtime for. With production downtime comes inventory as well. And here it will give us those up-to-date inventory levels and stock and balances. So when you do survey adjustments once every 2 weeks or once a month, those models will rebalance all the transactions that actually feed this type of information. So great for material tracking as well, inventory levels, and together with the production model. Lastly, we've got batch management. And batch management is actually to cope with that rapid changes in new products that the plant is not really set up for. So what we do here is all these are modeled in the batch management, and then the rest of the parameters are downloaded and the routing is downloaded into the PLCs on the control network to actually run that production sequence for you. It gives whole functionality. It just simplifies the constant changing in your control network because you want to run a different product through a different routing. And that's why we implement batch management.